Hi, my name's Alicia. I'm going to demonstrate for you how to create a time and expense invoice in Stacked. Over on the left menu, you go to the invoicing. You want to be on the project billing page. So this is all projects that essentially have work in progress. They're at an active state where they could possibly be invoiced. So it shows you the project description, the client, the project manager. It shows you whether it is a proposal or a time and expense project. It will display a fee estimate if there is one. It will show you cost to date and work in progress to date on those projects. It will show you the last cutoff date for the last invoice and the last invoice amount on that. It will show you whether the invoice is ready to invoice, if it's waiting for a project manager before it should be sent out. There's also a status if it's archived, and then if there's comments here. So the filters are very handy on this page. You can filter for project manager. You can also filter for, say, to only display projects that have work in progress. So this now populates a list of all projects that have whatever you've set as the minimum work in progress, so possible ready to invoice. So this page is very handy when it comes time to do invoicing. Whether an admin sits down with a project manager, say once a month, they go through this list together. They can filter it for that project manager, go through their list. They can add comments as to whether it's ready to invoice or not. Or maybe project managers come in here on their own and they can change the status and mark whether it's ready to invoice, and then an admin can come in here and use that information to create invoices. A really handy feature here is showing ready to invoice. So this is essentially populating a list for an admin to come in and say, okay, these are all ready to go. I should start working on drafting these and creating these invoices and getting them sent out. So today we're talking about creating a time and expense invoice. I'm going to use this project here as my example. You can see there's work in progress, ready to invoice. You can see the status has been set, ready to invoice. And there's even a comment here, whether it's from an admin putting that in here or maybe a project manager has come in and put that comment in. When we click on that row on the right hand side, it brings over this side panel. So from here you can create your invoice, you can write off any WIP, you can archive it from here. If there was a fee estimate discussed, so for time and expense projects generally there may be, say an agreed verbal amount that was set at the beginning of the project between the project manager and the client, say $500 for a site visit. You could drop that in here, and then that information is clean for the admin. This is where those comments come in. So it looks like a project manager has come in here and made a note. This is ready to invoice. This is what for. Marked the status as ready to invoice. When there's multiple invoices going out for a project, the history of those comments will show here, which then supports those invoices being created. If there was previous invoices created, they would display here. You could click on the PDF and open it from here. If there was a proposal for this project or an SCRN, you could open it from here, open the PDF to view it. This is displaying in this section the work in progress hours that are ready to invoice. You can display them as dollar amounts or hours. Preference is up to you. If there was mileage entered towards this project that needed to be forwarded on to the client, or printing or subconsultant invoices, that would all display down here. So we'll scroll back up to the top. We're going to select Create Invoice. So it defaults to fill in the project, the client, the contact. The invoice number defaults to the next number. It is editable if you feel you need to do that. The billing cutoff date, say you're invoicing up to the last day of the previous month, you could set that date here, and any work in progress after that date would be held in WIP for a future invoice. The issue date, that is your invoice date, and the due date, it is 30 days later in this instance. You can change that in settings, that's company preference. If there was a claim number or a PO number, you could enter that here. So this is that internal comment that came from the previous screen. This is, the back and forth within your company, communicating this information. This is what would actually display on the invoice. So you could enter that here, and that's what would display on the invoice for the client. So down here, this is a section that shows the work in progress hours that are available to invoice for this project. So this is a collapsed view here, we can expand it by clicking on this arrow here, and it expands all of the layers, all the employees, all their time entered. So this comes from timesheets. So they've entered their time in a timesheet. This is now flowed through, ready to be invoiced. If you make adjustments in here, say marking time up or down or writing it off, that does not flow back to a timesheet. Those are locked. Those are ready to be used for payroll. And anything you do in this screen does not affect pay to employees. So if you wanted to, you could come in, you could adjust bill rates, you can adjust bill quantity, you can mark it up, you can mark it down. For this project, it was noted to invoice for all work to date, so we're not going to make any adjustments, but I will show you a few options here. If you wanted to postpone and hold the work in progress, say for a future invoice, you can do that per row, per line item, or you can do it per entire category. Once you tick things off over here, you have a few more options up here with these three little dots. You can postpone, you can write that time off. If you've made adjustments in here, all these numbers are, you've marked some up, you've marked some down, and you've decided you want to reset it back to what it was, there's a reset option in here as well. So there's a few options there to make adjustments. So for this project, we are going to invoice for all of the work in progress to date. So we're going to scroll all the way down. If there had been expenses, mileage, general expenses entered into the system and ready to be invoiced, that would display here. And you would also have the option to hold for a future invoice. You can postpone and hold for a future invoice, or you can invoice on this one. Same for sub-consultant invoices. So down at the very bottom here, it's displaying the time from the work in progress that will be invoiced. If there was expenses or sub-consultants, that would display here. In this instance, we have it set up for all time and expense invoices to default a $30 admin fee. That is company preference and changed in settings, whether you have that on or off or what the amount is set to. If this client, you do not charge GST, you could uncheck that here, and GST will not be charged on this invoice. So from here, I'd say we're ready to go ahead and save. So this invoice is now created in what we call a draft mode. It hasn't been sent out, it's not completed, it's in a draft mode, it's still editable. So you could select more actions. If you weren't happy with it, you could delete it entirely at this point. It puts everything back into WIP, ready for a future invoice. You could complete it from here. You can also preview the PDF. So this is what the client would see. Of course, it's in draft mode right now, so it's watermarked with draft. So this is what our invoices look like. You have your description, your client, your contact, your invoice information. This was all items that you set in that previous window. It displays the description that you put in there, the services through date. This is your invoice summary and your total. You have a terms and a GST section here. This is set up in settings, company preferences. What this says, if it displays, it's up to you entirely. So I'm going to close that window. So back over here, you could complete it from here, but I'm going to show you a different way to do this. So I'm going to close this window. So the invoice is created in draft mode. So going back over here to the drop down, we're going to go to the invoices page. So from here, this is displaying, there's that invoice we just created in draft mode. So the ones highlighted in yellow, here's your legend, are in draft. The ones highlighted in blue have been completed but have not yet sent out to the client. So this is the one we're looking at here. We're going to open that up. So you have one more chance here. If you're not happy with it, you need to make changes. You can do that from here, but we'll say we're happy. We're going to complete this invoice. You do have an option here to show timesheet comments. Some clients like to see all timesheet comments supporting invoices. You can turn that on here. We're going to leave it off for this one. So we're moving it out of draft mode into a complete status. So I'm going to close this window and just hit refresh so you can see. So that invoice, we just moved it from draft into a complete status, and it's now ready to be transmitted. It has not yet been transmitted. I will show you that in another video.